Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, guys, based on the time zones you all are coming from. So, guys, before we start with the session, can you all please give me a quick confirmation if you all can see my screen and hear me loud and clear as well? Perfect. Thank you for the confirmation, everyone. So, my name is 𝐑𝐨𝐥𝐞-𝐁𝐚𝐬𝐞, and I have been working in this IT industry for more than 13 years now. So, today we have gathered for our discussion on top of how we can get started on using Power BI and how we can integrate that with Python. So we are going to first of all discuss on what Python is. Now, if we talk about the entire Power BI discussion here, the main agenda is we are going to discuss on Python, on the prerequisites, how we can use a Python script to import data, how we can use a Python script to create visualization, and all the possible drawbacks that we have. So first of all, we are going to discuss on Python. So Python, as we know, is one of the easiest language to start with, especially for those who are coming from non-IT backgrounds. Because Python has the easiest syntax. Python has the easiest syntax as in, if we compare Python with Java, for example, if you're trying to print any statement in Java, then there we have to write system.out.println, and then only we can start printing the statement. Whereas if we talk about Python, then we have a simple plain English print, and then we can use a statement to simply print any statement and then get started. That's how easy it is. And Python, as you know, is a high level general purpose programming language, which is extremely easy to pick up. And it is well interpreted, it is high level, and it also is offered as a general purpose language. And because Python has multiple use cases, Python can be well integrated in any use case. Python is completely platform independent, and Python that has multiple inbuilt libraries that we use for multiple use cases. For example, if we are talking about image processing, if we have libraries for image processing, we have libraries for scientific calculations, we have different trainings out there by using Python language. Now, in terms of installation of Python, now to run Python scripts in Power BI desktop, we need to install Python in a local machine. And Python, we know again, it's a Power BI Python integration requires us to install two Python packages, Pandas and Matplotlib as well. So these are the packages that we have to work on. So now let's get started. So currently we are going to use PyCharm, or we can use the Python CLI as well. So we can use this for downloading the entire Python package in our system. Here you go. And in case we want to use PyCharm, then we can use PyCharm, as PyCharm is the most popular IDE available by JetBrains. So if we are looking to develop on core Python, then we can use the community version, which is free. And if you want to get started on using the professional version, where we'll be having the support for other languages as well, like we have HTML, JS, and SQL support, then we can go ahead and use the professional version. Depending upon the use case, we can choose accordingly. So when we install PyCharm, it is automatically going to make sure the entire Python package is already configured that we can use for running the Python programs. So before we can see the integration here, let's open up the Power BI desktop. So Power BI, we also need to have Power BI for this entire hands-on. So Power BI, as we know, is one of the most popular data visualization tool available. Just like we have Tableau, we have Power BI. So you can download the desktop version for Power BI in order to start using it. Here we can click on download from Power BI desktop, and if we are so this is available not for Mac system, this is available for Windows. So this is going to open the Power BI store in Power BI application in Windows Store, and then we are going to get started on using that particular service. So let's open up the Power BI desktop if we already have the access to. Let's open it up. So first of all, we are going to look at how we can create a simple visualization by using Power BI as a part of our hands-on, and then we are going to proceed further with all the other components step by step. So now we have the entire Power BI desktop loaded. So now we can open it up. Now, before we can start using Python, we have to configure the Python script that we can use, that we can choose to get started, or which particular interpreter of Python, or which particular version that we are going to use as a part of a Power BI platform. So first of all, for configuring Python, we have to click on the options and the configuration tab here. So for that, we can go to files, and under options and settings, we have options. So from the given options, we have to make sure that we are able to locate Python scripting. And then we have, now from the open options here, we have to locate Python scripting. And then we have to make sure we are choosing the right Python home directory that we are going to use as a part of our Python integration. So we have to make sure this is well integrated, and in case we don't have that, then we have to make sure that we are going to make sure we are the right ID is path is already defined. So currently we are using the Python 3.8 interpreter that we have configured. And now once you want to continue using it, we can simply click on OK. And in case you want to see the detailed steps on how we can install and configure Python, we can click on this option to get the entire detailed document as well. So here we can click on OK. Now that means now we have successfully configured the entire components on Power BI here. So now we can start creating the code here in any of the other IDs, or we can start coding directly in the Power BI as well. But as advisable, it's always advisable to create the code directly in the ID itself. So that once we have the entire code created, then we can import that code in Power BI. We can do that. So here we can open up our PyCharm, so that we can create the script there in PyCharm, and then we can import that script in Power BI. So let it open up, and we can choose any of the version that we have the access to, both in terms of PyCharm and Power BI as well. Let it open up. So we can create any new project, and now before we can get started, we also need to have pandas library also pre-configured that we may use for creating multiple data frames as well. So in case we don't have the integration for pandas already configured, then we can install that pandas library by going to the settings tab here, and then choosing the interpreter for which we want to install the library here. So we are going to install the library for Python 3.8 that we are currently using. So we can click on add section in the top right corner. Here we have add. So here we can click on add, and here we can specify if we are going to use pandas, then here we can define pandas library. We can search for it. If we wanted to install any specific version for it, we can specify the version, and if you want to keep it the default version as 1.05, we can click on install package. So this is already good now. So that means PyCharm simply takes care of the entire installation for any package, so that we don't have to install them manually one by one. We can let pandas take care of the entire installation on its own. And then using pandas, we can create any data frame, and then we are going to use these data frames also in our Power BI desktop. Now, once we have configured it, then we can start scripting on top of Python. So now we can start importing the pandas library here, and then we can start working on top of it. So currently we are going to create a simple data frame by using Python. So we can import the library here first. So here we can define import pandas as PD, and then we are going to define the data frame by defining data, and the data can be in any format. For example, suppose here we are going to define data for the current data set, such as the username and then the integer. For example, the name and the age for any person. So here we can define data frame. So the first entry we can define, let's say we are going to add name and the ID for a person. So here name can be, let's say, user, or it can be any name. For example, let's say here we have Alex. Define as one name. We can define the age of Alex such as 18. Then we can create another entry. Here we can define name as, let's say, John, and then we can define age as age for John. Again, we can define another entry. Let's say we name it as Vic, and here we define the age here. Let's suppose 27. This can be any age, and so currently we are entering the age and name that we are going to visualize as a part of this data frame that we're going to create. Now, once we define the data here, then we can use data frame as df, and then from the pandas library, we are going to work on the data frame. Here we can define data frame, and then what data we are going to refer? We are going to refer to data that we have already created, and then here we are going to work on the columns and columns. So whatever data we have entered, we have to save that in the columns. So Alex is Alex, John, Vic, these are what? These are name. So here we can specify the first column name as the name, and then what exactly is 18, 20, 34, and 27? This is the age. So we can define it as age. And then we can define what kind of data it is. So here we can define D type. So here we can define D type. D type refers to data frame, the data type. And here we can define that if data type is going to be float, we can define float. And then if we are looking to print it, then we can use the given data frame for printing that particular statement if you want. And then once we are done, we are going to use the script as well. We are going to use the script in Power BI. So we can come back to our Power BI desktop dashboard, and to use that Python script, we have to click on get data, and then we can choose any Python script that source that we have to define. So if we click on get data source or other data source, here we can choose Python script so that we can enter the Python. In case you want to run any Python script, we can open up the Python script, and here we can enter the script that we have copied. And once the entire script has been executed, then we are going to look at the entire setup being done. So let's change the version of Python here, just a moment, as we have initiated a new library here. So let's do one thing. Let's change the Python engine here. So we can go to options, and here we have Python. We can choose the ID that we have currently configured. Let's confirm the entire script. Let's confirm the entire interpreter first. So here we have defined the entire package here. So currently let's look at which particular interpreter we are using. So currently we are, this has frozen, just a moment. So currently we are setting this up for a new interpreter that we are using for, we can say we're using fresh for this entire interpreter that we have created. So here we are going to install a fresh installation of pandas, because until and unless this library is available for the interpreter that we have chosen, the Python script in Power BI is not going to be executed properly. Because whichever interpreter we choose, we have to make sure, because let's say if we are using the Python script in Power BI, so Python in Power BI is simply going to refer to the ID that we have selected here, and that ID should have the library installed. So as you can see, this pandas library has been installed successfully for the current interpreter, and now we can close it. Here we can see for this interpreter here, we already have these different configurations already defined, where we have pandas and NumPy already configured. So now we can apply it. We can click on OK, and here we can see the entire data frame being executed as per the requirement. So as you can see, the entire data frame has been presented to whatever we had defined as Alex, John, and Vic, with the current age that we define as a part of this library. And now if we are looking to use the same script in our Power BI, we can copy this up, and then we can move on to our Power BI desktop. So we can come back to our Power BI, and we have to make sure that we choose this interpreter. Just a moment, let's configure that. So here we define the Python ID in our users by our name. Then we have defined this in the folder. And then once we define it, we can define get data, and here we can enter the Python script that we have generated to execute the same thing, the same script in Power BI. But we have to make sure that the same script, the same interpreter is being used, whatever we have structured, so that we don't get any kind of errors. So once we enter the script here, this is going to get connected to the same Python that we had defined. All right. So as you can see here, once we have the entire script executed here, we can see the entire data frame, and the current data which we have created in that script has now been imported as a part of Python script. Correct? And now if we want to load it, we can click on load, and this entire data is being loaded as a part of Python script that we have currently executed. So let this entire data to be uploaded, and then we will be able to see the list of fields available in the given data set. So as you can see, now you have age, and then we have name being imported as a part of the Python script that we have currently executed. So basically, in order to get started, we have to make sure that we have the libraries installed in the Python interpreter that we are going to use. We have to make sure all the libraries are up and running, and then we can come back to our Power BI. Here we have to make sure that we are using the correct interpreter for Python in which all the libraries are configured. So for that, we have to go to files. Under options, we have Python scripting options available. So here we have to choose Python scripting. Here we have to make sure that we are using the Python home directory where we have the interpreter configured, and then we can define the Python executable file. So when we run any script, this entire interpreter is going to be referred, where it is going to look for any kind of library, and all the scripting is going to be rendered by this particular interpreter. Right? So once we have configured that, then we can click on get data, and here we can choose Python script as a part of data source. So here we can choose Python. If we want, we can search for the entire Python data source, Python script, and here we can enter the entire script for Python that we have currently imported and we want to execute, and then we can click on OK. Now let's suppose if we are going to create more sample data set, because currently we have only 2 different data frames available. So here we are looking to create more sample data frames, then what we can do, we can start defining more data frames. Let's say here we can define for frame as age, weight, gender, states, children, and the number of pets available, that we can create multiple parameters for that. So let's do one thing, let's create the entire data frame here itself. So here currently we have defined data. Now let's add multiple data sets here. Let's add only, here we can define data frame. Okay, let's do one thing, let's create multiple data sets here. So let's remove this data here for now. Let's define data frame itself. So here we are going to use data frame, and in here we are going to define each and every data pointers here. So now let's say we are going to define first name. So let's say we define first name here as f name, first name. So first name is, we can define any kind of name values. Now for first name, we can define multiple values if we want. We can define B, we can define C, D, F, G. So there can be multiple names defined here. Now we want to define the name of the age as well. For example, say here, let's say we define another parameter as age, and here let's define the value for age as well. Let's suppose here if someone is age 24, then B is, let's say, 36, C is 14, D is 15, E, okay, we forgot E. So here we can define E. So let's say E is 27, F is 64, and G is 45. So here we have defined the different age parameters. So here define the age parameter here. Now next is we can define multiple values. Let's say we are going to visualize weight as well. Then here we can define the weight parameter, and in weight we can define weight for each and every individual. Let's say here we define weight as 75, as let's say 42. 42 will be too less for someone having 36 years of age. So we can define this as, suppose, 65. For 40 we can define 42. For 15 we can define, let's say, 45. For 47 we can define 78. For 64 we can define 70, and for 45 we can define, let's say, 76. In terms of weight, same way we can define gender, or let's say if you want to define this for multiple geographic areas as well, as in cities, or you can just city itself. So if you are going to add city-based values, so here we can define city-based values such as NYC. We are going to add a value for NYC, and second value, let's suppose, for Sydney, third value is for, let's say, Tokyo, is for Delhi. Then we have, let's say, for Mumbai. Then we have for Singapore. So how many values now we have? We have one, we have multiple values defined here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here we can define one another city. Let's say we define Bangalore. So here we have multiple cities defined as per the current value and data set that we are going to create. So we can create this entire data frame locally, or we can import this directly as well as per the requirement. And let's suppose here we want to also define children, we also want to define states or multiple other parameters. We can keep defining one by one. Honestly, we keep it for now, and we can use the same print data frame. So whatever we did here, it is going to be printed for each and every individual here. Like we can see here, let's do one thing. Let's import the entire script here back into the script section. And here we click on OK to import this current data frame here. So this is going to connect to the entire interpreter, and then based on the given data frame, we can see the list of all the data frames that has been imported, and we can choose this one, click on load. So here we can see the entire parameters. This was the earlier data frame, and this is a new data frame containing the records for age, city, F name, and weight, which we have currently imported. And now we want to start, if you want to start visualizing here, we can use the element for Python script available in as a part of visualization. So either if you want, we can use the same visualization, like the same component for visualizing as a part of Python tool, right? So now if we want to start visualizing on top of this one, and here we have to make sure we are adding the values. We are adding the values here. So for example, whatever value we want to enter, we can drag it in the same value section, or we can customize the entire script as per the requirement, right? So let's suppose if we want to import all of these parameters here, we can make a selection for all. And if you want, we can, as you can see, we have added all the parameters as a part of values, that we have currently added here. And now if you want to start visualizing on top of it, we can directly do that. So once we have imported that here, now we can start adding the script here itself as a part of scripting that we can see here. So if you want, we can add an entire script here that we are going to visualize by using the Matplotlib, or we can use a Seaborn library as a part of statistical analysis, and then we can get started. So for example, suppose if we want to use a simple scatter plot by using the components as age and weight, then here we can start adding the script here. Let's say here we can define the line as import Matplotlib library for data visualization, and from here we are going to use pyplot as plt, and then we are going to define the dataset.plot, and then we can define the kind. Now we are going to use a scatter plot here. So here we can define the kind as scatter plot. So it is going to be a scatter plot graph. And then we can define the parameters, such as on X, we are going to map age that we have defined. And on the Y axis, we are going to plot weight that we have defined. So we got to see the distribution of age and weight, and we are going to plot it as a part of scatter plot graph. And we can define the color. Let's say we want the color to be red, that we can customize as per the requirement. As per the requirement, we can simply define the script and we can have it executed. So if we want to visualize, if we want to expand this entire code here, we can see the entire distribution of age and weight has been shown as a part of the entire visualization that we have, like how we can visualize different sets of data, as we can define what kind of graph we are going to create and how we are going to run. And if you're looking to plot the same component as a part of graph as well, then we can also define that. For example, instead of scatter here, we want to define this as a part of line graph. Then we only have to change the entire type here from kind from scatter to line graph, and we can see the entire visualization that we are going to get here as a part of line graph instead of a scatter plot. And we can define, you can combine multiple matrices as per the requirement. We can define them. For example, suppose if we're looking to define this as a component for bar graph, if we want to define this as histogram as bar graph, then we can easily define that. Let's say if you are looking to change this, then we can change the kind from line to bar, and then we can define. Let's suppose here we want to change the color from red to blue as well. We can define it. As you can see here, now we are able to see the entire bar graph being plotted here. So whatever color we want to change it to, we can define the color and then we can get started. Thank you so much for joining, guys, and have a great day ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.